Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Pop Culture Universe. Today is a very special review. We are reviewing Disney Gallery's latest episode of Chapter 2, Episode 16 of The Mandalorian, which is basically the behind the scenes of the Luke Skywalker episode in The Mandalorian and his whole involvement in that scene. So basically, the whole review was just about the Luke Skywalker
Hmm.
kind of moments pretty much. It wasn't about anything that happened previously to that. It was all about the Luke and the behind the scenes of how that was done. So I'll be one of your reactors today. My name is Bogz. I'm with my girl Sol today. How are you today, Sol?
Doing good. I want to bring in a Dave Filoni quote of Star Wars should deliver a good feeling. And man, watching this deliver a good feeling. It was great to watch.
Absolutely. So again, just off the back of that, again, my summary of this whole thing is that Star Wars is in good hands with
Hmm.
Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and also Peyton Reed. I thought he came across really well.
Yeah.
Um, the main pieces I want to discuss in this small review is what Filoni covered, a lot of his stuff covered, and some of the stuff that Favreau covered as well. And yeah, just seeing them two go at it, I mean, it just makes you smile. These are so invested. They're kids at heart who are just
Hmm.
playing with their Star Wars figures pretty much, and I'm just here for it. So, what about you? So, overall thoughts on the episode? I also thought this was the best gallery review of the Mandalorian. Oh, sorry, a gallery episode of the Mandalorian that we've seen so far, because we saw an episode for each episode in series one, or the first series, and this is I think we got one of an overall thing
Hmm.
of the second series, and this was up until the last episode, and this was a separate one. So this is technically, I think, the ninth one we've had, so or 10th maybe. So this was the best for me. How about you? Overall thoughts on this gallery episode?
Yeah, I think this one was the best as well because the first season it was one episode to one episode with gallery.
Mhm.
And so it was cool because you got in depth, but you're really going over the whole episode and each individual parts of those episodes. And then this season of gallery, the first season two, it literally did the entirety of season two of The Mandalorian. So still very cool. Got to see a lot of cool stuff, but this literally just took a moment of an episode. And I like the fact that because it's only taking a moment of an episode, you're going so in depth on it. Whereas if it was doing the episode entirely, we probably wouldn't have gone as in depth with the Luke Skywalker reveal that we did with this episode.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to cover things that Filoni said mostly in this episode because he was absolutely dropping gems in this, and
Mm-hmm.
some things that Favreau covered as well. But okay, first point is Luke and Ahsoka. Some of the stuff that he mentioned I thought was so cool. So obviously referencing them meeting and um, and the things that it seems like Luke and Ahsoka have not met in this point in the story. So having them meet and having them discussions about Anakin and how he was redeemed at the end, because from our understanding, as of yet, she does not know. Because their last kind of moments with each other was on Malachor, obviously in
Mm-hmm.
Rebels, when Ezra pulls her out in the World Between Worlds, and since then they haven't had another interaction. So obviously she's aware that the Empire's fallen and the dark side is defeated, but by Luke, I assume, and obviously she hasn't had that interaction or to know that Anakin's being redeemed. And obviously we see that Anakin was redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi. He did see his father, he did see Anakin, without his mask, and I think all that she's been through, all the pain, her life's pretty much been destroyed. Her best friend and master, she lost. So and having to go against him and things like that. I think just having that, telling Ahsoka about the ending, and in vice versa, Ahsoka can tell Luke about his life, about how he was, in his early life, how he was with the Jedi, and how he was as a master and as a person, as a friend. So they can both help each other, and then so quite poetic in that way, and help each other out and give each other kind of relief over their kind of the father and master. So yeah, I thought that was initially. But yeah, what are your overall kind of thoughts on things I've just mentioned there about Luke and Ahsoka having their interactions, and especially with Anakin, and that whole topic.
One thing that stood out to me is the fact too that Ahsoka is Luke's senior, and it's so weird to think that in your head because yeah, Luke was introduced so much before Ahsoka was. So when Dave said that, I was like, that is right, and she's had way more training, and therefore will be better with a lightsaber than Luke was. And just the talk of like we want him to be better than he was in Return of the Jedi, but he's still learning to be a Jedi, and so he's not gonna be like he's still badass, but he's not gonna be at a certain level quite yet because he's hasn't had as much formal training. So just like the comparison between Luke and Ahsoka, and just like the fact of just trying to find what is the perfect way to represent Luke in this episode, and yeah, just thinking about the conversations that Luke and Ahsoka could have with each other. I need the comic book. I need the show. I need animated live action, whatever. Give it to me.
Absolutely, and just off the back of what you said there, so Filoni explaining Ahsoka is Luke's elder, like you said, and her having more training than he ever has,
Mm-hmm.
um, and as well, like she's more experienced. She's obviously his elder. She's had more training. Doesn't mean she's more powerful though.
Right.
Obviously, he is. Well, he's the chosen one. He's and all that. So because she obviously has had more training, she's had more experience, been in more battles and stuff. So I feel like she could control her emotions better than Luke, and she maybe knows more about the Force than Luke. Well, in fact, I'll definitely say she knows more about the
Yeah,
Force than Luke.
definitely.
And but again, doesn't mean that she's stronger in the Force than him, but just something that they can basically learn off each other. And there's so many things that she could teach Luke about the Force and about how the Jedi were, in the prequel trilogy. And moving on, this is obviously before. This is kind of I'd call this era like pre-Prime Luke, like before his
Mm-hmm.
Jedi Academy. So maybe setting that up, he learned a lot of lessons from Ahsoka, being in the Jedi Order, being a part of Anakin and Obi-Wan, being a part of the Council, learning the ways of the Force from her. Because moving on to that is Luke's. They did discuss Luke's lightsaber as well, and the way he used the Force and things like that. And obviously his style post Return of the Jedi, it is improved, it is smoother, it is more skilled. But at the same time, who's trained him? Or if he is more skilled, where has he learnt these extra skills from? So my assumption was the Force Ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi, Anakin, Obi-Wan, obviously Yoda, these training him. So I presume it isn't Ahsoka as of yet in the story. I mean, that's
Yeah, I
what
don't think
kind
so
of
either.
led to believe that they haven't had interactions as of yet. But who's training him? How is he getting better and more competent as a Jedi, with a saber? So thoughts on the improved lightsaber stuff and anything with Ahsoka.
I think when you're comparing Luke and Ahsoka, I guess like to compare, like both my brothers have done sports all their life. And my older brother was more of the person who would always practice and practice and practice. And he was good at sports because he practiced and got the work ethic and the skill from practicing. Whereas my little brother, his was more raw talent. He didn't need to practice because he just had the talent to do it without practicing. So I think when you're talking Luke, again, a more powerful Jedi than Ahsoka, but Ahsoka has that experience, has that practice. And so that was the kind of where, when you were speaking of that, I was like, that's where it went in my head, is just the difference of how you attain and hone your skills. I love the idea of that it's the Force Ghost, having him practice now because it is much smoother than Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and her being a grizzled veteran and literally
Mm-hmm.
his elder because she is older than him. So I just feel like because again, what you're saying, obviously with your brother's example, that's the same as Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan is so much more experienced than Anakin. Doesn't mean he was better. It doesn't mean he was stronger in the Force or more powerful than him. But because he has that experience, he was able to defeat him or whatever. So it was same kind of things there. I felt,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a real treat. Some of these interviews were personable interviews. They felt with Dave Filoni, John Favreau, and others in it as well. Their understanding and love for this and what it means to them. Very respectful of what George has made. I felt George Lucas, of course, genuine Star Wars fans, and if, like I said, if they feel like kids, just on the inside, and I do love that. And then just really moving on to the deep fake and voice stuff that they covered, and the synthesized voice use that, I had no idea that was not actually,
Right,
Mark
me
Hamill
too.
recording the lines. Yeah, so it was a voice inside that, they've kind of added together, kind of, so many voice imprints of him, and they've kind of computerized that dialogue that they've used. So I thought it was so smart, and the kind of, even though the deep fake stuff, they showed the millions kind of different images they may have used to use that kind of deep space project. And we did get the news as well that YouTube, Disney hired, or Lucasfilm in particular, hired quite a famous YouTuber, a deepfake YouTuber. So you may have seen someone deep faking Luke in this episode better than actual what was in The Mandalorian. If anyone's seen that footage, it is that guy who they've hired, which was kind of a nice surprise that they hired a YouTuber who's done better than what they were able to come up with. And yeah, it makes you wonder who else can they, with this level of technology, who else can they bring back, and who else can make them sound as well, like themselves. And it's amazing what they can do with it, and bring back some original trilogy characters and prequel trilogy characters. This is the level that it's at now. It's only going to get better and better and better. And it's just so you can bring, for example, scenes that I just felt like whilst watching this is like, we never got the Luke, Han, and Leia scene. In the sequel trilogy, you can do things like that with this level of technology, especially with this, the voice stuff is what I was more kind of shocked, because I kind of never knew that. I presumed he just recorded it and they kind of added some effects on it to de-age his voice. But so this just means for me is like these characters will live on past their life, when these guys, because they're part of life, these characters who played these will die, one day, and these can be kept on with this kind of technology, and they can kind of outlive us all. These kind of it's kind of scary in a way, because you don't know what's real and what isn't, but it's also cool because you can keep the legacy of these original trilogy characters and prequel trilogy characters in there, whatever era that you want, basically. And I just love this attention that they're doing to it, and yeah, it just feels like it's a way to honor what George Lucas created. But yeah, overall thoughts on the deepfake stuff and the audio kind of voice being synthesized and all that information that they give us.
Well, speaking earlier to these are just like adult kids. Dave Filoni was talking about, if we bring Luke in, we also get to bring in R2D2. And he was talking about just Dave Filoni's face when he realized that R2D2 was going to be there. And then, Jon Favreau's face when R2D2 is going to be there. And then cuts right to Jon Favreau goes, he's my favorite character from Star Wars. And so just like you could just see the love and just like their inner child coming out with like, oh, R2D2, I didn't even realize that. We get to see him, which I think for some of us, we were like, yes, Luke, but we were also like, yes, R2D2's in this episode as well. Going to the deepfake, the fact that they were talking about just scouring the internet, that it wasn't just taking from the movies, both his face and the sound, but scouring the internet for interviews, for anything of just young Mark Hamill. So the amount of work, actually, they said he was locked in a room. No, literally, he was locked in a room because they didn't want this to leak out. And just like the absolute fear of the Luke's reveal being leaked because everything else was being leaked about it. Like, oh yeah, Boba Fett's coming back. Yeah, we're going to have Ahsoka. It's going to be Rosario Dawson. Those things were leaking, but they were able to keep Mark Hamill, Luke, all this a secret all the way until we watched it in the finale. And then we're like, oh my gosh, the music. And that's my next point. It's just the fact that they were talking about it was original music up until Luke shows up. And they play that John Williams score. And the fact that music plays such a big role in Star Wars, they were like, this is a tool. John Williams score is a tool to use. And we didn't use it until it was the absolute right moment. And that right moment was Luke's reveal.
Yeah, awesome moment. Yeah, because you're waiting for the John Williams scores in a lot of
Mm.
this, and yeah, you hardly got it. So yeah, it was a great reveal. And the R2 moment was when even Filoni in the interview was getting a bit choked up. That was the one moment that I did get a little misty eye when he's talking about R2, because that was the same for me. I didn't
Yeah.
get emotional when I saw Luke. I was like relieved, like I finally got this. I've waited I was born after Return of the Jedi, so I've been waiting for a prime Luke my whole life, and then I got it here. My mouth was on the floor watching it. I felt like I should be emotional, but I wasn't. And until I heard the R2,
Yeah,
and then seeing
definitely.
R2 and Grogu, that was the moment for me, because I didn't even think about R2 like
Yeah.
Favreau. Didn't cross my mind. I was so obsessed with Luke, and then just seeing him come around the corner, it got me. So when he was talking about explaining it, I did get a bit choked up hearing that, because he's one of my favorite characters as well. And then just moving on, to what's to come, from this, and all the updates from the effects and stuff, and and this gallery stuff. I can't wait for the Book of Boba Fett, and especially Kenobi, the gallery stuff behind the scenes with Hayden Christian, with Ewan
More
McGregor.
Hayden, please. More Hayden.
Right. Seeing the backstage behind the scenes of these guys. Oh wow! Like with in the time frame that they're in, the time in the timeline. Sorry, doing the backstage stuff. I just need some Hayden Christian.
Yes.
More of him in my life, and some of the kind of nostalgic stuff they're gonna do with this technology as well. I mean, it's like it. I just feel like as long as Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau are involved, they're in safe hands. So it's so many things to be positive about with these guys. They can tell any story, and I mean that love and care for George Lucas's story that they have is amazing, and it's they can also tell fresh stories with a fresh twist, whilst honoring the original kind of story and the creator. So I absolutely loved it, and there's so much positives to take from this, and I was like I said, thoroughly happy with this, and Mark Hamill got his time to shine as Luke. But what about you overall? Summary of this, and expectations moving forward with the kind of gallery kind of episodes now, and with the deepfake stuff as well.
Yeah, my misty-eyed moments were both when Jon Favreau, he was like, I can't even explain why I feel this way, but I'm getting emotional now.
Yeah.
And him getting emotional, like I was just like a little misty-eyed. And then when Mark Hamill was getting emotional about like just the fact that we care so much about this character that he's played for so long and like has had an attachment to for so long, and that we care so much about Luke, and that we want to see Luke, and that like just him getting emotional. I was like, Mark Hamill getting emotional makes me emotional. Right. That's literally my note I wrote when I was writing down while watching it.
Yeah, because he is Luke, and he is the embodiment of hope for a lot of people, and because he's so iconic with this, and obviously I don't want to go there, but in the sequel trilogy, he didn't get this level of he couldn't be a prime Luke Skywalker, and obviously he got his time to shine here, and and like you said, it's with this level of detail and love and passion these guys have, it just makes my heart warm as a Star Wars fan, meaning that they're going to honor these legacy characters, they're going to honor the prequels, and move the stories forward as well. So I'm in a good place, happy boy, with my favorite all-time character in any movie, getting his time to shine. So any final thoughts, though?
Star Wars should deliver a good feeling. And yep, definitely.
Exactly. So great episode, and we look forward to the next ones. Like we said, hopefully we get them with the Book of Boba Fett, with Andor series, with Obi-Wan, the Kenobi series. Sorry, so a lot more to come. But yes, can't wait for Mando season 3. Of course, we're gonna break everything down. Give our reviews, reactions, thoughts. Please put your comments in the chat. Your chats in the comment about your kind of review of this yourself, or what's to come. And please like the video, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode review.